Which word of the day? Today's word is runeboggle, verb or noun. In the popular card game Magic the Gathering, runeboggle is a card that allows a player to cast a spell to counter a spell from another player. However, if that opposing player pays a fee, they can counter the counter and the original spell takes effect. The card features a quote from Geetra, a frustrated mage. Ever try to count hyperactive school children while someone shouts random numbers in your ear? It's like that. So confusing and boggling and trickery and random, that's what this word's all about.
You haven't even read that?
Wait, what are you doing with the book?
So he has the confidence to finish the story.
Hear now the words of the witches.
This is Kevin, and welcome to Words of the Witches, the Charmed podcast that will guide you through the lesser-known published material in the Charmed universe and decide how it fits into the grand narrative of the TV series. Spellworders, welcome to episode 36 of Words of the Witches. Yes, the book this week is As Puck Would Have It. A pun on As Luck Would Have It, if you didn't know. Before I get started with the episode, I want to make you all aware that this month, June, we will be having an extra novel episode. So next week, Friday, will be another episode. So you'll get 3 episodes this month instead of your usual 2. And then if all goes well, you will have another novel episode a week later on July 1st. So that gives us 3 Words of the Witches episodes in a row. 3 weeks in a row we'll have episodes. So, so expect that. This next thing is something I didn't want to address or acknowledge on this podcast really ever. But because it is tied to the original show in a very direct sense, this time I kind of have to bring it up, at least explain some things about it. So, as you should be aware by now, the Charmed Reboot has ended their series at the porch of Halliwell Manor of the original series. I actually knew about this way back in March. Shortly after I visited and recorded the Halliwell Manor episode, I was informed that the Reboot had shot there. In actuality, they built a porch set of sorts and then did some drone filming with a drone of the exterior of the house. I was intrigued by this before the episode came out and everyone saw it. I was intrigued by the prospects of this. But I first must explain my feelings on the Reboot before I get into my feelings on the end of the series. So I'm only going to talk about this now. It's not something I wanted to bring up. Okay. This is so hard for me to talk about because I have such strong feelings about Charmed. And when the Reboot was announced, I was optimistic and I was curious. Once that initial trailer came out, I read it out. I was not impressed by the trailer. There was no heart, there's no soul. It was giving me really strange vibes that did not compute. So I told myself I wasn't going to watch it. Okay, so I vetoed it out. That's not to say that people can't like it and people are allowed to like it. It just wasn't for me. And I discovered that really quickly. So I actually haven't seen the show. But I've seen clips and I've seen trailers and I've seen little scenes. And everything that I've seen just goes to tell me why I didn't watch the show. It proves my point about why I didn't watch it. So I think I have a fairly good handle on it. Some will probably look at this end scene of the Halliwell Manor as a way of honoring the original show, as a homage. And if that works for you, if it's magical for you, that's great. To me, it was too little too late. It felt like a shallow attempt at last-minute marketing. First of all, I do not care for the acting. I do not care for the dialogue. I think everything that's written in that show feels incredibly forced and incredibly fake, and that's no exception here. I don't feel like this reboot respects the original. It tries to give you the illusion that it does. but it doesn't. They couldn't even have the audacity to actually research what the house looked like. They modeled the inside of the house like the Innes house, which is the actual house that's there, and not what was canon for the show. If there were actual fans, they would have done that. And then I even read an article about the showrunners kind of criticizing the end of the show and why this is better. And they've done that before. They've criticized the show when they came out with the show. So I just feel like there's so much lack of respect here. And that's what bothers me more than anything. These sisters come to the house, try to make justifications for walking in a stranger's house and acting like you own the place. You deserve this, they believe. They've fought for this. They've made it this far. This is not your house. Leave a note if you're curious, if you want to know who's inside. Don't just walk in and promenade. I was so betrayed. This is not a great way to end your series. Sure, this multiverse thing is fascinating, but you could have gone about this way earlier, and you could have made it much more respectful. And I just feel completely betrayed by this. And I'm so sad. I'm so sorry. But there, I addressed it. I'm bothered. If you love this show, if you want to defend this show, that is fine. I know my guest this week, the guest that's on this episode, is a fan of the reboot too. And so I don't want to discount anyone's feelings on the reboot. And if you like it, go ahead and like it. But I just feel so betrayed by it constantly. And that's just my opinion. That's my thoughts. And that's where I'll leave it. So now you know where I stand. I do not want to bring up the reboot really again. I just had to do it now because of that tie-in. Otherwise, I'm just going to go with my go-to answer and just say I don't know her, because I really don't. I know what I've seen, and that's enough. And I'm just going to talk about the show that I loved and the show that I continue to love, and the one that will exist to me in my heart. So there we go. Let's move on. I am also going to inform you now, just for future reference, just to keep this in mind, that I will be doing another giveaway soon, probably around the time that I start the comics. So in the fall, I am planning another giveaway. Now this giveaway will be exclusive to people, to spellworders, who support the podcast monetarily. So they are active in the listener support option on Anchor. This is because the prizes that I'm planning on giving away are more rare and expensive. And I want to give some incentive to those who do support the podcast in this way. So if you're interested, go to anchor.fm/wordsofthewitches/support to see how you can do that. Based on the tier, there's 3 tiers of ways you can donate. Based on how much you donate, you will be given more entries. But more details on that when the giveaway starts. But for now, let's start this episode. Okay, Words of the Witches, episode 36. Jay is with me. Jay, hello.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you. We had a long haul of technical difficulties, but now we're here, so that's exciting.
Almost 45 minutes late, but yeah, we're here.
How did you discover the show?
When I was like 12 years old, I saw this preview about the show. But back then, I wasn't very interested in it. I just saw it because I have seen like many other TV shows about magic and vampires and other supernatural stuff. But then around like a couple of months later, after the summer, I remember, that's when I saw that's the first time I saw one episode. It would be season 1, say episode 18, when Batman.
Let's go good. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And back then I was like, okay, it's kind of interesting, but I still didn't really know that much, except I was very infatuated by Piper's freezing power.
Yeah, there's something about it that's very, I don't know, exciting, you know?
Yeah, definitely. There's no beating freezing time. About a half year later, I started watching the second season, and that's when I started like really following. The first season I only saw like 3 episodes, and that was about it. And then second season started, and I started watching like all the time, and eventually it became my favorite. I got interested in English because of that, and started like practicing. And aside from learning in school, I watched the show a lot and read the subtitles, and eventually I started doing well in class.
Nice. And what's cool about you is you actually contribute to the fandom for the books, which is a cool thing, and I use it as a resource a lot of times.
After the show finished, I started like collecting some of the books. Like I wasn't very interested in them either, so I only bought like 2 or 3 of them. But then I started reading about the other books, like not reading the books, but reading about the information, and getting a little interested and curious. So I started collecting them. Like I think the last one, I got all of them back in 2019. That's when I got all of them.
Okay, cool. Well, let's get into the book since we don't have a lot of time. We're doing as Puck would have it. So it's the 34th numbered book in the series, but the 36th book we're doing because I already did the anthology books, and it has season 6 promo picture. This is the last book with season 6 promo pictures. And then we have like this high top circus tent in there. And then it has the tagline, "Life just got a little trickier."
Oh, yeah.
The back cover says, 3 sisters sent on a wild goose chase, a mystery to solve, a demon to face. To save a soul before time runs out, learn when to trust and when to doubt. Oh, that's cute. It's tough to get good service these days, at least if you're a charmed one. Pepper has an odd altercation with a housekeeper. Phoebe receives some strange advice from a computer technician, and Paige witnesses the questionable wilderness skills of her hiking guide all in the same day. The sisters come to the conclusion that magic must be to blame. They soon deduce that the mythological and literary troublemaker Puck has decided to pay them a visit. Just as they realize who is responsible for all the chaos, Puck, who is as curious as he is mischievous, appears and announces that he has devised a plan that will let him see the power of 3 in action. The circus has come to town, and he knows of an innocent in need of protection. At the circus, the 3 sisters must find the one in peril, while a devilish, shape-shifting Puck leaves them second-guessing their every move. With an unknown innocent in danger and time running out, will the charmed ones be able to outsmart Puck and defeat evil before it's too late? The author is Paul Ruditis, whose name we will see a lot. He wrote The Brewing Storm before this, and then he wrote
The Brewing Storm, one short story called Something Good, Something New.
In the War and Witches.
And there's Leo Rising, and then the other ebooks, Let Gorgon Be Gorgon,
and the War, and War on Witches. So not War on Witches, but War on Witches. I love it.
Yeah, really.
And then the comics, and this was published April 11th, 2006, and then reprinted May 2nd, 2006. According to the fandom, it says it takes place between My 3 Witches and Used Karma, which, I can see that. Released in 6, Jason's still kind of in the picture, but is in Hong Kong, and that makes sense to me.
Yeah, Hong Kong. That's my hometown.
Oh, there you go. Cool. And now you live in Sweden.
Yeah. I was born in Hong Kong, but I moved away when I was like 2 years old, so I couldn't remember much of it.
All right.
But just to be clear, I did not move to Sweden. I moved to Sweden when I was 12.
Oh, so where were you before that?
I was living in Norway.
Okay. Wow. So you got it all around.
Yeah, pretty much Scandinavia.
So the prologue, it starts in San Diego, California, at the San Diego Zoo, a very popular zoo. So it starts with Puck, our little friend here at the zoo, and he watches as a demon appears and runs into his invisible barrier, barring him from entering the zoo. He's like hanging in the trees, like making fun of him and stuff. And then Puck remembers that this demon has tried and failed at least twice before to come in here. He's like, nope, he's not getting in. I'm so cool. Puck makes himself known with an elegant and taunting flair, as he does. He's very he's got a really cool energy to him. I love it. And the demon made more failed attempts to enter, only to fall off his feet. The demon
something about having a very fixed goal or something.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to get the idea that if he cannot get through the barrier, then it's not gonna happen even if he continues to punch through it. It's like
Yeah, he just trying to use his brute strength and it's not working.
Exactly.
The demon kind of pouts. He's like, whatever. And he shouts that he's like, you can't stop him forever. Whatever. I'm going to get in there one day. And then Puck knew that that was kind of true. He's like, he won't be able to fight him alone for much longer. So Puck decides he is going to get creative and find another way to get him.
And that way is Charmed Ones.
Charmed Ones. Yes.
Chapter 1, it begins like any other day in San Francisco, and Piper is staying home, talking on the phone to an employee at a club because she's decided to stay home for the day and hang out with her son and, watch over the crew so that they don't break anything or maybe steal something. Or just in case, maybe a demon would pop in for a visit when the cleaning crew is in here. And this guy who's helped her clean the place, who has made the first floor spotless after one very rough battle from the previous night, is like asking her to give her her blouse, and she just says, no, I'll just pay you instead, because who would want to give up the clothes when they can pay you? But unfortunately, this guy is Mr. Good, refuses. He just keeps insisting that he would rather have her clothes, and that's when she like gets very upset, and they start going into a bit of a quarrel, and then he just, okay, fine, have it your way. And just pushes a plant on the floor, and then just starts like pushing into other things, and just makes a mess, not just in the conservatory, but in the dining room, the main hall, the living room, and turned into a much bigger mess. And that guy just walked out on her.
Yeah, so it's crazy because this guy, Mr. Good, was just like really weird, because that is really strange. If he's like, oh, I don't want money, I want your blouse. She's like, what the hell? She's like, is this guy trying to get me naked? Like, of course, that's a weird thing to say. Like, okay.
Yeah, even though he also said that, no, you don't have to do it in front of me. You just
you
go
can go
upstairs
and change. He's like, I even have like a pair of socks I can give you as change, but do you think it's too much? So really unusual, fun stuff. But I'm like, oh, she's like, Piper's like, this is so bizarre. She's like, I'm not giving you my clothes, weirdo. And that's when he's like, I did you a service. I expect payment. It's like, not your worthless paper. And that's when he does the thing. And it was cool because it flies across the room and hit the grandfather clock. The grandfather clock. So we have another example of that breaking, which is funny too. But yeah, and that's when Piper tries to freeze him on the way out, and he didn't freeze. So she's like, he's probably going to be back. So chapter 2, at the Bay Mirror, Phoebe is working on her column, as she does. As soon as she hits save on her computer, it shuts down, and Phoebe is livid. She's like, what the hell? She's like, every time I try to save my work, it breaks up on me, and then I lose everything. Like, nothing comes up. So she's really mad because it's been happening over and over. Her documents are lost. Elise was offering her other places to type it out. She's like, you can go to this lab over here, or you can use my computer. But all of a sudden, this handsome man walks in and looking for Phoebe Halliwell. And he says, hi, I'm Robert Fellows from IT. I can fix your computer. Why not? So Phoebe describes her problem. She's like, yeah, this is what's happening. And Robert suggests that maybe her computer doesn't like the advice she's giving. She's like,
oh, yeah, the computer has a mind of its own.
Yeah, she's like, how rude. Robert says that he does read her column, and he feels that Phoebe kind of coddles her audience. You coddle your readers. But he tells her that if people in love aren't hurt, how are they supposed to get revenge? And Phoebe's like, aghast. She's like, oh my God, who says that?
Yeah, what is wrong with you?
She's like, wow, I would never give that advice, you weirdo. With her computer fixed, Phoebe's excited to get back to work. And
except by the time she opens up her documents, she sees that all of her answers had changed to something else. Really
dark, really weird, rhymey things. Stuff that Puck would say in his Midsummer Night's Dream book, maybe, Shakespeare book. So she's like, this is not me. She's like, well, I'm going to give that Robert a piece of my mind because I know he did this. So she goes, because he left his card on her desk. So she grabs his card to call him. And she gets a premonition, but not a premonition because she doesn't see anything. She only hears the sound of like a trumpet blaring in her ear. She's like, ah, like, why didn't I see any pictures? What a weird premonition.
Yeah, she's lucky she didn't lose her hearing because of it.
Yeah.
Chapter 3. So Paige is hiking in the forest to get away from all the stress at home. And then on her way, she's like thinking about how she's going to enjoy it, especially after having fought a demon called Gulaka.
Yeah, the goo demon. That's what left the goo in the floor in the first floor that was clean.
Yeah, yeah. It reminds you a little bit of the
slime demon. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then along the way, she meets this hiking guide.
But before that, she does this weird thing where she's trying to talk to the animals. She stands in the clearing and she closes her eyes and she's like, hello, little bird. I want to try to talk to you.
Oh.
And then she's like, yeah, that was really weird. But then she's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to summon my spirit guide because I read in the Book of Shadows that you can summon the spirit guide. So that she does that and closes her eyes, and that's when Robin appears. She hears like the footsteps behind her.
So she meets Robin, and he just talks to her, being very nice to her, give her a flower, and tries to take her to this very nice spot. The guy just takes a backpack, and then he just tosses the backpack down the river. Seriously, what the hell is wrong with you? He just suddenly floats into midair. Yeah, just goes off the cliff and levitates in front of her to let her know that he's supernatural, then disappears and leaving the ho ho ho, like voice projecting.
Oh yeah, oh ho ho. I think it is funny though because when she first met him, when he first appeared, she saw him like peeing on a tree. And she's like, "Oh God!" She's like, and she's like, "Oh, whatever." And then he's like, when he introduced himself, he's like, "I'm Robin." He's like, "Put some hand sanitizer on first." It was such a really cute scene. I really thought it was funny. But yeah, then he takes her to the really magical place. I know a place that's really magical where you can concentrate. And then he's like, "You can't really meditate with a backpack on." He's like, "Let me take that for you." Yoink off the cliff. Down the river. I'm going to read the part of 41 because I really thought it was really clever too, because it's very Cheshire Cat of him. It's like, ooh, because when he's floating there, Paige is like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "Now there's an interesting question. Who is any of us? I leave you to ponder that transcendental thought." Without another word, he disappeared, and although he was no longer present, Paige could hear laughter echoing through the valley with "ho ho ho." And so, yeah, he's such a funny little guy. I love it. But these sisters are all just like, what the hell are these people?
Yeah, by the time we read about this Robin, we know that is like a whole series of weirdos just happen to go to the sisters on the same day.
Yes. So chapter 4, Piper is at the Book of Shadows after putting Wyatt in the crib because she's like, I need to figure out what this guy is about. She's like, was trying to look up Mr. Good because she's still pretty aggravated about how he left the place and how crazy his demands were. And then Phoebe storms in. She's like, Piper! And she's like, I'm up here in the attic. And then Phoebe just can't believe, she's like, why is this first floor such a disaster area? This is worse than before. Piper and Phoebe tell each other their stories of their experiences with their odd men. And then Paige orbs in just then, hoping to peruse the Book of Shadows. She's like, I need this. I need to look at this because I had a weird man person too. And they compare the stories and they put together all the 3 names that they got, and they just decide that combining the 3 names gives them the name Robin Goodfellow, which is another name for Puck. Like, we are being played here. So Phoebe finds an entry in the Book of Shadows on Puck. Yeah, chapter 5.
They go to the Book of Shadows and they try to look for information, and thankfully there is. Unfortunately, there's only a lot more questions to them because the entire entry has either been crossed out and replaced or just added some footnotes. And mostly they just don't know what it is. They just know that Puck is a very good trickster, and warring witches have been tricked by him over the centuries. And that's why they couldn't figure him out. All they know, just this trickster shapeshifter who can do pretty much anything and has a lot of powers, but no one knows how powerful he really is. And they don't even know what type of supernatural being he is. Maybe a fairy, maybe a hobgoblin, maybe an imp or a pixie, or somewhere even say, oh, the devil himself.
Yeah, because the Book of Shadows is like all over the place. Contradictory things. It's all scribbles. It's all half-written notes and things were crossed out. It's like, I can't make sense of any of this.
Yeah, it is like very confusing.
Yeah.
And then, whoosh, they were still in the middle of the discussion, and suddenly Paige is feeling very uneasy, like she's having a stomachache. And then, whoosh, is just orbing, but she's not orbing anywhere. Her orbs are just floating around the room, like
this was a crazy visual because she's like, oh, I don't feel so good. And she kind of fell over, and then she like it's almost like Piper blew up Leo. The orbs just like blew up and scattered, but just stayed in the air and didn't move after that. So like that's weird.
Yeah, that's like very weird. And then whoosh, yeah, there comes Buck coming in to present himself, and well, they didn't like him. Hey, what did you do to our sister? Come on, put her back together, or I'm gonna vanquish you.
Yeah, and he's like very Cheshire Cat, very jokey, very gloating, very confident. And he's just like playing with Paige's orbs, like moving it around the room, like, oh my god. Crack me up.
And then he just tells them, oh, I'm just here to test you guys. I want to know how powerful you are, and if you're really the good guys, or if you're just bad guys pretending to be the good guys. So, and then he tells them, there's an innocent who needs to be saved, but I won't tell you who it is. It's up to you to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
He just likes to leave riddles and questions so they can get the answers themselves. He fixes the mess in the house, so to prove his worthiness, his trustworthiness. So it magically fixes the house, and then Phoebe's computer, and free of charge.
Yeah, I can't bring Paige's backpack back because a bear has it now. A bear family has it now. Sucks to be Paige. Like, Paige really gets a shaft in this book. I feel bad for her.
Yep, where to find this innocent. Although they already know that it's they're gonna find it, the innocent at the circus.
Yes. He left. Like, give us back our sister. Chapter 6. Paige reemerges and finds her bearings. She's like, "Hey, what happened, guys?" I can't believe you didn't give me my backpack back. Yeah. Piper changes Wyatt, and since Leo is at some elder white letter retreat meeting, he's not around. He's unavailable. So
there's wait, there's a retreat?
Yeah.
White letters have a retreat?
It's so weird. But just meetings, and so she decides to stay home with Wyatt because she's like, I'm not taking Wyatt to the circus, and there's no way I'm going to get a babysitter right now. So you guys go to the circus. I'll stay here and just do some research on Puck. So Phoebe and Paige decide to go to the circus, and that's chapter 6. Pretty straightforward.
Then we're on chapter 7, where Paige and Phoebe orb to the circus. And Phoebe's like, what did we ever do before orbing?
Yeah.
Because we didn't have orbing at the beginning. So they try to look for whatever clues they might have. Phoebe encounters a clown who just pulls her into an act like...
Yeah, she bumps into him. She's like, sorry, clown. And then he's like, well, come play with me. Entertain the children over here. Entertain the little children.
Yeah, and then he would give her an engagement ring?
Yeah, it's like gaudy, giant plastic ring. I think of like ring pop, except plastic.
Yeah, and she's like, oh no, what am I going to do? People are watching. Children are watching. If I say no, then they're going to be disappointed. But I can't say yes either. But you know what? I'm just going to say yes because he's just a clown doing his job.
This is just an act. It's not real. It's fine. Yeah.
I'm never going to see him again after this. Still continues to check the place, and eventually she meets up with Paige again and comes up with the idea that her premonition maybe have been leading her to the band that's in the circus. So they go to find a band, only to find out that they're all animatronic, or some would say automaton, as in they're not real, just fake people playing music.
It's like the Chuck E. Cheese band or, Disney World Country Bears over here. What's funny, though, I love that when Phoebe, after the clown left, Phoebe took her ring and threw it in the garbage. She's like, I don't need this anymore. So chapter 8 is with no lead on the innocent, Paige suggests investigating what looks to be a press conference. Like, okay, let's check there. They see animal rights protesters in the back exit. And Phoebe heard a man say that there's the guy that's like leading the press conference. He's like, there's no evidence of a link between the deaths of Zeus and Sabra. Like, oh, deaths, you say? Who are these Zeus and Sabra things? As the crowd dispersed, Phoebe went to the man. I'm Phoebe Halliwell Manor, and she pretends to be a reporter. She's like, I just read I'm a columnist, but right now I'm gonna be like, I'm reporter. And so the man is Reed Huntington, and Phoebe proposes an interview about how they're treating their animals, like just questionnaire. Like, I want to just know how you run your circus. Reed does have some hesitation about it, but he eventually agrees to meet Phoebe in 15 minutes in a restricted area of the park. So Phoebe then meets up with Paige again and tells her about the plan. She's like, yeah, I'm going to go have an interview with him. Maybe you can do some snooping around while I'm doing that and see if you can find something. And then we'll meet back.
And we're on chapter 9. And we're back to Piper staying home and being a mommy while looking through information about Puck and taking care of her boy. She's like looking through, instead of looking through information through the Book of Shadows, she's turned to the internet, which has just made her even more confused. When suddenly Puck shows up next to her, tells her to, come on, why are you staying here? You gotta go. You gotta be a charmed one. You gotta do your job. Why are you staying here?
I love it though, because she's like looking at a picture of him and he's like, that looks nothing like me. Do I look this fat? Like, it was really funny.
He's like appearing to them like this handsome young man.
Yeah,
I think with white hair.
Yeah,
which might be just another disguise. It's like trying to convince her to, if he cannot leave the baby at home, then maybe you should bring the baby to the circus. I mean, it will be fun.
Yeah, he really wants her to go there. He's like, you need to go there. Problem with the world, all these overprotective mothers. He's like, what is wrong with you people? Like, oh, sorry.
Yeah, but he cannot. They cannot just leave a baby at home because they cannot take care of themselves.
Yeah,
so that is also a problem.
Yeah.
And suddenly, they hear Leo saying, "Honey, I'm home." Leo walks in and asks her what's happened, and she tells him what the day has been and about Puck. And he's like, "Wait, you meant Puck? No. You cannot stay here.
Yeah,
come on, we'll take care of the baby. You just go."
Leo explains that Puck's lore has grown and changed over the years, and then that once something is part of the mythos, it becomes real to Puck, which is interesting because I think like any rumor, anything that people have said about him, any kind of the way it changed is automatically true for him. So he must be getting more and more powerful once that happens, which is crazy.
Yeah, that is kind of crazy. Kind of like turning him into a god or something.
Yeah.
Leo tells her to go, and he will take care of Wyatt. After Piper left, that's when something happened to Leo. Just, oof! It's actually Puck.
It's like, what? A disguise all along. Oh.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. He just popped out, leaving the baby completely alone, and then he just popped in, and we're like, no. Piper will kill me. So no. I might as well just run some arrangement for the baby, and then I'll pop right back. So he just calls some animals, as it were 2 birds, some squirrels, and the biggest one would be a raccoon. He tells him to remember to feed the baby, and he needs to take his nap. Yeah, exactly.
It just cracked me up because he's like, first he's with Wyatt. He's like, well, okay, gotta go. And then he's on the floor. Then he comes back. He's like, oh, wait, sorry, I can't do that. And then the birds, all the woodland creatures, they can take care of a baby. Chapter 10. All right. Phoebe and Reed start their interview. So she's going to interview the circus guy. And Reed certainly believes in the work that the circus does. And you can see he clearly cares about the animals. So that's good. He tells Phoebe that Zeus was a tiger performer that had gotten an illness and died, sadly. Sabra, there's another animal that died, was a horse from an illness. And there's no explanation as to how the disease spread. And Reed confides that he believes the illness is going after their lead animals, all their star animals that are like headliner of the shows. Those are the ones that seem to be targeted. Yeah, the most powerful ones. currently Tasha, their star elephant, is sick and is kind of kept away from the other animals. They quarantine it from the other animals, but people can still go and visit it. Reed knows this is more than a coincidence, but is at a loss for words and a loss of what it could be. So he's just kind of really in a sad place.
11. Yeah, where Phoebe is talking to Elise, asking her questions about the animals and beings. Let's see. Wait, sorry. She's asking Elise about her colon because she needs to make sure that it's going all right. Then she asked to talk with the research department about the circus because they certainly would know anything specific that is newsworthy. Because the Bay Mirror just decided not to take the story, but they knew that there was a story about the circus. At least agreed to help her in any way she can. Paige grabs Phoebe and takes her to the elephant tent. Mm-hmm. And that's where they talked to the elephant. And Paige was a bit upset because the elephant is so sick and looking very dying. Tasha, the elephant, was just barely alive, and she touches Paige with her trunk. And that's when Phoebe realized that her vision wasn't a trumpet, but an elephant. And that's when they realized, okay, so they had just found it innocent, the elephant.
Yeah, Tasha is their innocent. How cool. And I love that, Paige seemed to bond with Tasha. I'm like, this is beautiful, beautiful elephant moment, and Paige is so sweet.
Yeah, exactly. It is definitely the first for any of them that an animal would be the innocent.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Then this woman comes into the tent and she sees Phoebe and Paige and what the hell are you two doing in here? Who are you people?
It's like, get out of this tent.
That is the chapter.
Yeah.
Chapter 12.
Chapter 12, the woman that came in who was yelling at them. Her name is Lane Strickland, and she is Tasha's circus trainer. So, okay. Paige tells Lane that she's there with social services, despite quitting months ago, maybe even half a year ago. She's like, oh, I'm with social services, and we're just investigating the animal deaths and how the children could be affected. And Lane seems to buy it, though. She's like, okay, well, I don't know, but she's still abrasive towards them. She's like, well, you still should get permission to come in here. I don't care. So Lane asks them to leave and tells them that this illness came quickly, like a flipped switch. Like one moment she was fine, one moment she was sick, and it's like nothing she's seen before. Okay, so that's the information we get for chapter 12.
And then we're on chapter 13, where Piper calls Phoebe and tells her that she's at the circus now. So, but because they need to get the power to freeze fast, so Phoebe sends Paige to orb Piper into the circus. And then the three discuss Puck's love of animals and what he wants them to do. That means they need to save the animal.
Yeah.
So they have Paige orb back to the manor to find the Book of Shadows and cross references about animals and demons. See what is happening. Because whatever this sickness is, it's not natural.
Yeah, and see if there's a demon that works with animals or something like that,
Yeah, or maybe some sort of a parasite. And then they see the clown again. And he was sad that she didn't have to have his ring. And she's like, no, sorry, I gave it to a little girl. And then he gave flowers to Piper. But no, she wasn't amused. She didn't like it. She was,
I don't want this. Whatever.
And that's when the clown left them alone.
Yeah, so chapter 14, Piper and Phoebe visit Reed in the trailer he's living in, because, he lives with the circus. He travels with the circus. And he tells them that they keep surveillance of their animals, and there's tapes, recordings. Phoebe wants to see Jordan Kahn, Dr. Jordan Kahn, who is Tasha's vet, and ask him questions. So talk about that. Piper decides to freeze Reed and go through the tapes that are in there, taking the ones labeled Zeus and Saba. She's like, I need to look at these tapes. While Reed was frozen, his phone rang. So Piper unfreezes him. They get back into position. Piper unfreezes him, and he takes the call. But then Elise calls Phoebe at the same time, and Phoebe learns that an intern found something, some information. Reed then tells them what he was called about, and he's informed that Tasha is now in full quarantine, so nobody can go in there. There's going to be a guard at the tent, and no one should be able to be allowed in. And Piper and Phoebe are escorted out. Yep. Phoebe tells Piper that they found out that this is going back to the intern. So the intern found out that a string of animal deaths have happened at zoos throughout the country, but only in cities that the circus visited. Interesting.
Yeah, suspicious.
Yes. There have been no reports of deaths in the San Diego zoos, the LA zoo, and the Vegas zoo. And that's when circus animals were affected instead of zoo animals. Paige orders back from the manor. She's like, "Hey guys, I'm back," and that's the end of that chapter.
Okay, so they warp into the AV trailer and try to play the tapes. Paige tells her sisters that she thinks they're dealing with a bestiary demon, which is a demon in human form that can drain the life energy of animals and then acquire their abilities and their strengths. But it cannot happen right away. He has to drain them three times.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and it can only be complete, and he can only have access to their abilities after the third transference. So that is a problem. But they also have. That means they also have time to save Tasha before it's too late. They realize now that this demon has been traveling with the circus as a staff member. But whoever it is, it's very hard to say at the moment. And so they start playing the tape from a year ago. There's this Tiger Act and Sabra, legit tapes, but the dates they did not match. So someone must have covered it up.
Mm-hmm.
Is an inside job, so it would make sense.
Yeah. Who has the real tapes?
And that's when Puck's face showed up on the screen. Well, it says, "Good morning, angels."
Good morning, Charlie. No, we're not doing that. But I thought that was a funny little reference.
And he tells them to continue with the case because they need to solve it quick.
Yep. I'm not going to give you any more information, but good for doing what you found so far. Keep going. You're on a roll. Chapter 16, Phoebe cozies up to Reed and gets permission to interview Dr. Khan. She's like, "Oh, there's that doctor I want to interview, that vet." So Dr. Khan says that Tasha is not doing well at all. This is when she's interviewing him now. Phoebe has been noticing that everyone she's encountered at the circus seemed very devastated and sad for the animals. So it's really making it hard for her to narrow down who would be trying to kill them. She's like, "They all seem so sad. I don't think any one of these people are doing it." Dr. Khan says he did because Phoebe's like, "No one is really allowed in there." He's like, "Well, I did let one person in the middle of the night because he's been here for so long. He loves the animals too. His name is Tommy Brace. And, I just allow him in." And she's like, do you have a picture of Tommy Brace?" And he shows Phoebe a picture, and Phoebe realizes that she actually met him already because the picture is of the clown.
The clown who proposed to her.
Yeah. So she's like, "Oh, I know him." Then we go back to Piper and Paige in Dr. Khan's trailer, and they see a tape in the VCR. They play the tape, and it's of Zeus, the sick tiger, laying in his cage, and then they see someone come into his cage through the darkness, and then he absorbs the last of his life essence, and Piper recognizes the bowler hat and realizes that the clown is their demon too, so they both discover the truth.
Yep.
Gasp.
Chapter 17, where Phoebe asks for a picture of the Tommy without his makeup, but unfortunately, no one has ever seen him without makeup before. So it's we don't know what he looks like, and we don't interfere with his private time or what he does inside the circle or circus or outside the circus.
Yeah.
And then when Phoebe goes to check, when she goes out, she sees that there is no guard at Tasha's tent. So she decides to check it, and that's when she finds Tommy inside and calls him out because he's in the middle of draining the last of Tasha's life.
Oh, scary.
Yeah. Oh, yes, scary. thank God she manages to stop him. Otherwise, it would be too late.
Yeah.
And then, well, the clown, oh no, his eyes are glowing demonically red, and he growled at Phoebe like a wild animal. But thankfully, Tasha is alive, so that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Phoebe attempts to fight the demon, but he was too strong for her, and he just sent her flying out of the tent. And that's when Paige ordered a whole bunch of cotton candy to break her fall. I was like, seriously? You couldn't have used something else?
There's no mattresses over here. I don't know.
Yeah. So the three of them run back into the tent, but no, he's already gone. So they try to follow him through the hole that he made. And that's when a whole stampede of clowns come after them from the cow palace and just march on the three of them.
Like here, all my clown friends don't like you now, so they're gonna get you. I'm like, oh, and it's weird because most of these clowns they're all probably just human people that like, you mess with our friend Tommy, how dare you? It's like, wow, like your gang of beat up clowns. I don't know, how awful.
No.
So chapter 18, the sisters battle and hold the clowns off, but they're not using any of their powers really because these are people. They don't want them to see the power, so they're just like kicking them and stuff. And Paige is like, this is really fun. Isn't this fun? Don't you love battling the clowns? This is like so cool.
She's very entertaining.
Yeah, she's really into this. Like, we should do this more often. Piper freezes the room and they escape. Like, as they leave, she like looks back in. She's like, they're frozen? I'm going to freeze them now. And then she gets one of the clowns sees her. She's like, oh no, they saw me. Oh shit, they saw me.
Run for it.
So they still like, the clowns still like chase them and track them down. They hide between like two trailers, and while they're hidden, Paige orbs them all to the media trailer, and luckily no one was there, so they snuck off. Phoebe figures if they go back to Tasha and stay with Tasha's tent, sooner or later the demon will come back to return. So like just go there and wait for him.
That's chapter 19. So the three of them are heading back to Tasha's tent, and this time they find a guard there. Because the last time there was no guard, which was weird. But when Piper tries to freeze him, nothing happens.
Yeah.
And that's when Paige says, I guess now would be a good time to mention that the bestiary is an upper level demon. And they're like, oh, come on. That's a rookie mistake. You've been at this for over a year now. How can you not mention this? Because unfortunately, that's the demon sees them. And he just goes on full attacking mode on all three of them. Like he knocks Paige to the ground, he knocks Piper to the ground, and then he's going after Phoebe last because she's like, magically speaking, she's not the most powerful one. So she has to go for the most obvious choice. So she tries to. She just runs away, tries to outrun him, which there's this part where it says she can feel his hand touching her hair, or brushing against her hair, which I find it a little bit weird because if that was what happened, then he would because this is like a season 6 novel, and if he was brushing against her hair, he definitely would be
very close
enough. Too close. He would be close enough to grab
her hair is really short right now. Yeah.
Exactly. Anyway, she goes through the trailers and manages to dodge him and just keep running through the trailers and try to keep people out of it. And then she goes into this dead end. And that's when she would probably have been meat for the demon, except she levitated out of his sight. The demon is like, where is she? Where is she?
I can't look up. I never thought of looking up. I guess she's gone.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Which is good because if you think about it, if he acquired so many different animals' abilities and attributes, he might have had the ability to fly too.
Right. If
he had seen her, Yeah, if he had seen her, she would have been in trouble. The three of them regroup at Tasha's tent, and they wait for the demon. Paige tells them the vanquishing spell that they came up with, while it was effective, it was also weird to Piper and Phoebe.
Yeah, they make fun of her. She's like, really? That's what you came up with? Okay.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it's that bad. I think it's funny, but it's funny, but I don't think it's that bad. But sure.
Then the demon comes in. Piper blasts him back, send him right out of the tent, which actually was pretty impressive, because if he was like that strong, and if he couldn't be frozen, you would just expect the blast to like knock him back a couple of steps, not like stand out of the tent.
Yeah.
That's when they cast the spell together. A weird thing happens. Phoebe and Piper just feel their powers like draining right out of the bodies. It's kind of like the bestiary demon's ability to drain life forces.
I was like, are they? I thought I was very confused. Like, is he draining their magic now? What craziness is happening?
Yeah, and then the weird thing is, Paige was still standing. She was still full of energy, and the two of them were just on the ground, holding on to Paige, holding on to their hands, and the energy just flowing right out of her. Just by the time all of the magic has been drained, the demon explodes.
The spell worked.
Yeah, but Paige is still standing, but she's tired, but not as tired as Piper and Phoebe.
Right. Maybe it's an act. Maybe she's like, I'm tired too, you guys.
Yeah, that's why weird. Is there like the most intense power free spell they have ever used?
Yeah.
But by the time they turn back to Tasha, she has regained full health. She can stand on her feet, and she gives them a thank you trumpet.
Like, yeah, I can't. Whatever. Elephant noise.
Oh yeah.
Chapter 20. The sisters return to the manor to find Wyatt being watched by a bunch of woodland creatures, and Leo is nowhere to be found. They're like looking at Wyatt and see this like squirrel and raccoon just like staring at him. Like, what are they doing? Are they gonna eat his face off? I don't know. Piper and Phoebe accuse Paige of being Puck in disguise. They're like, "You're Puck, Paige. I know it." She's like, "What? No, I'm not. Stupid."
No.
She's like, she's like, "Yeah, during that power of three spell, I was like getting so weak, but I felt like it was all being absorbed by my sister Paige. Don't you think that's funny?" But they were right. Puck is like, "You got me," and Paige suddenly morphs into Puck, and he was impersonating her the whole time. Jeez Louise. Are you kidding me? I was like, how is this possible? But okay. So then Puck says he needed the help of two of the most powerful witches and wanted to see them in action. I was like, really? You think that low of Paige? You're not going to even include her in this? Only Piper and Phoebe are like the two most. I was like, wow, poor Paige. They really don't think highly of you in this book.
She doesn't even have that many chapters.
Right. She's only in like chapter 3.
Chapter 3.
And then this last chapter, the whole rest of the time it was Puck. So ridiculous.
Exactly. There was no telling from her perspective. It was just from Piper and Phoebe.
Yeah. Puck explains that he could keep the demon out of grounded establishments, but not a traveling circus. So the zoos he can keep protected because they're like concrete, they're standalone, they're established places, but things that move around are harder to like do. So he's like, okay. Puck leaves them. He's like, well, thank you. Bye. La, 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 la. Paige now returns. She orbs in and she's like mud stricken. She's like dirty and she's got twigs in her hair. And she's like, I've been wandering in the forest for hours and I couldn't call you because it was down the river and I couldn't orb home. I don't know what was happening to me. She's like, what's with you guys? Suddenly a prize box appears in the room and the raccoon is like over it. It's like, hey. And they open it and it's tickets to the circus. They're like, I don't want to go to the stupid circus. What a stupid prize this is.
Oh yeah.
And that's that chapter.
The thing is Phoebe already had the extra tickets.
Right, they already got tickets anyway. So it's like,
yeah.
Oh my God, what a useless gift.
After they realized that Puck was impersonating Paige, you kind of wonder how he impersonated her powers, like how he imitated them.
Right.
And I actually have a theory about that.
Okay.
Like two theories actually. One would be he was really good at impersonating things, like not just people, but pretending, like using some sort of an illusion to make it seem like the powers are the same. Or you remember in chapter 3, he gave Paige this flower, which was it was the flower that kept her from orbing home. And then when they found him out, that's when Paige was orbed home against her will, and then the flower fell out of her head. If it was like messing with her powers that way, I think it's kind of possible that he was channeling her power through that flower somehow.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Maybe he was also using that flower to channel her power as well, because otherwise, how would that work? I mean, it's a power 3 spell.
Exactly, because I had thoughts about that when I get to the final thoughts and stuff, and I had thoughts about that. So yeah, good start.
The epilogue, we're in front of Dr. Jordan Kahn, who has returned to his trailer, and there is Puck standing in it, and Puck snapped his fingers and tidied up his room. And Puck tells Kahn that he's proud at how he challenged the sisters. He really likes messing them up. And Kahn was surprised that they were so helpful.
So he knows Puck and he knows of the plan. Interesting.
Oh, yeah. He was the one who contacted him in the first place, because he had found this summoning spell that would bring Puck to him. And what did he say? He figured out that someone from the circus was killing animals at zoos in the cities they were traveling in, but he couldn't do much about it. So he just contacts Puck to do it. And wouldn't you be surprised? This Dr. Kahn is actually 325 years old, and he's human.
Interesting.
And why is that?
Yeah,
interesting. Because he's been dabbling in the magical world ever since he dated a witch 300 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, what? Seriously? He dated a witch, and then somehow he slowed his aging.
Yeah, so he dated the witch, and apparently the relationship didn't work out. They broke up. He's like, well, I know about magic now. I want to stay dabbling in magic, and so he dabbled.
And Puck just takes Jordan's jacket as his payment and says goodbye, and off he goes.
Yes, turning his whiskey into apple juice.
Oh yeah, that's one last trick. He had to leave a last trick on the guy.
So, final overall thoughts about the book.
Interesting, I would say, because it's not. You don't. I've never been to a circus, so
me neither, which is weird. People think that's so fascinating that I've never been to the circus. But
yeah, so we can only imagine the things that are actually happening in the circus. But for something this tricky to happen in a circus, that is kind of unexpected. And then it's like this whole book has been about trickery and glamour and you don't know who to trust, and there are things that make you question whether or not you can trust it.
Yeah,
like starting from Puck appearing to the sisters, to them finding out that the demon is working there in the circus as a clown. I mean, that is a disguise. That is a way of glamoring himself and making sure that he gets by unnoticed. And then at the end of the day, they find out that Paige is actually Puck in disguise. So it's all about hiding yourself.
There's clues throughout the book that Paige wasn't really Paige. So you had to kind of really look back at those, so I thought this book was super fun, especially in the beginning. Because I really enjoyed Puck. He was really fun to watch. I like that. It did start to lose some steam for me about 3/4 of the way through, because there was some fun twists, but I don't think the climax was as exciting as the mystery surrounding it. I think the mystery was more and then the answer we got was just a little less than I would have preferred. But there's just some other notes I have. I love that Elise has backup reissues for the paper called The Best of Phoebe for use whenever her family emergencies come up.
Yeah, so whenever she wouldn't like
Be around.
yeah, whenever she wouldn't be able to put in her column in time, they could use it.
Yeah, I'm like, that's
So,
clever. That's funny.
Yeah. There's also a bit questionable part about that because she's like Phoebe she has said specifically in the season 7 that she would never recycle stuff.
Uh-huh. But then she did, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I did! I need to learn sabbatical now."
But that was different because that was like her using stuff she already said,
Right,
and
right.
just at least using her
Past
line.
articles, yeah. But at least at that point, that they would know that this is recycled. Whereas versus if she gave the same advice twice. I really love the thing that Puck did about their names. He says, I mean, your family doesn't show much creativity when it comes to choosing monikers, do you? Piper, Phoebe, Paige, Prue, Patty, Penelope, please. That's positively pedestrian and a pedantic pedigree, if you ask me. All the alliteration, which was fun. He's like, wait a minute. Puck, my name begins with P too. Hey, will you gals adopt me? I always wanted a mom.
Seriously?
He was just so entertaining, and I think he was written so perfectly. And I love that he calls the girls out on their shit, especially when he talks about innocence and personal gain. I can understand because in my mind, Puck was doing illusionary things with Paige's powers, so I was like, I can understand how he can mimic her powers, sure. But when they did the power of 3 spell, I was like, it's a power of 3 spell. How in the world could that have worked? It's not the power of 3. The reason why Piper and Phoebe's were being drained because they were exerting so much more power to compensate the fact that there's only 2 of them in the power of 3, I think. So, and then but I'm like, didn't they say something that was going into Paige? Like, why are the powers going into Paige?
Yeah, it's like power 3 is supposed to be equal. There's no one better than the other.
Yeah.
Or in a way.
So
it's about all 3 of them working together.
Exactly. So I don't understand how the spell worked for one, because they weren't all really there. And I don't understand the whole absorbing of the draining and absorbing of their magic. That was never explained, and that bothered me. I did think this, because we had 2 books before this that took place in the circus. We had Gypsy Enchantment and Beware What You Wish. Both had circus qualities, but this is very similar to the Gypsy Enchantment because that one had to do with animals. And then the bad guy in that was a clown as well. There's a disguised clown. I'm like, so we're using this again?
In this one, on the other hand, the demon and Puck, they were both hiding it very well.
Yeah.
Like the demon was like pretending to be super friendly, super lovely. Even children will love him.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very insidious for sure.
Exactly.
So now we have Put That in My Canonical Hat.
Canonical.
And this is the segment where we take the story and determine what is and what is not canon. So if there's any discrepancies with the narrative of the show, anything you noticed?
I noticed that I noticed one thing that is lacking because this is a season 6 novel.
Yes.
And by this time, Phoebe would have developed her power of empathy, but there's no mention of that.
No, and maybe she just didn't use it. But yeah. So yeah, they didn't have that.
Yeah, and there's no mention of Chris whatsoever, which. Yeah, but this is not canonical, so yeah, we know this.
Right. And
Leo. There's Leo, who is still their white lighter and still married to Piper, but this time they would have been divorced and he would be an elder.
Yes, right. And it's weird because, like, I don't think they ever actually officially divorced. I think they separated because they never got the divorce final. But yeah, they were definitely not together at this point. And Chris would have been their white lighter, and Leo would have been an elder, and all that stuff. Yeah, they mentioned Jason, and that Phoebe is like kind of semi-involved in him. So that checks out. There is the fun thing where Phoebe has her computer password as Curzon, which is the demon from the 3 Faces of Phoebe.
Yeah, exactly.
So like that was cool. That was a cool little tie-in. And then you mentioned too that they talked about the lessons in morality bites. I like that they mentioned that. But yeah, that's really it. There wasn't anything that was too wrong. Just the Leo and the Chris thing were the major problems. But otherwise, it was pretty straightforward, I think. Would you have liked to see this as an episode?
Yeah, I can imagine that. Would have been like something very new and refreshing. Because even on the show, they never went to a circus. They just
Right.
they just been going around in different places. Sometimes very big mansions. Sometimes, see, they were at the beach once when Phoebe turned into a mermaid.
The closest thing they could think of to like the circus, they went to like the petting zoo, like that carnival thing where they had like Wyatt and the clown was making fun of Phoebe on the phone in Sense and Sensibility. Yeah, that's the closest thing I could think of.
This would be different and interesting.
Yeah.
And it would also be fun to watch the bestiary demon like exert so much animalistic powers.
Yes.
Because he's not just super strong and super agile. He's got these skills of many different animals. You would wonder what he's capable of and what he can do. There was even this part where they said that he might be able to camouflage himself.
Right.
Because he might have a chameleon's power.
It's crazy. That was kind of a missed opportunity because they could have really showcased some of those animal abilities. I think it would have been cool. We didn't really get any of that. It's just him being a brute. But as for having this as an episode, I think I would have liked it as an episode. I think having the Puck character show up would be a fun part of the magical community that we to introduce that we didn't see before. And I can see him getting a lot of laughs and love if you were on screen.
I can imagine him like getting very friendly with the nymphs and a lot of animals, because the reason he agreed to mess with the bestiary demon was because he cared about animals a lot more than humans.
Yeah,
and that was why Khan reached out to him in the first place, because he would care too much about animals.
And elephants are my favorite animal, so I really enjoyed seeing Tasha and have seen an elephant being loved and cared for. That made my heart really happy. And so I think I would really like this as an episode, so long as they made Paige more of a part of it and not be an impersonation the whole time. If Paige was actually part of the story, that would be a good fix. But this would have been a great episode, I think. Next is rhyme time.
Should we try a spell?
Why not? Let's try a spell.
In the wind, I sing this rhyme. Bring death before me, before my time.
You've really got to lay off the rhyming, Prue.
Wonderful. Witty, but wordy.
I did the rhyme. I will do the time. Good night.
The one spell we have in here, just one.
I'm going to say it.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. To vanquish the bestiary demon. To save the creatures in this realm from powers that can overwhelm. For all animals strong and hairy, rid us of this bestiary.
It's a cute spell. Like, I kind of like it. They made fun of her. They made fun of the strong and hairy part, but I don't know.
That was also Piper and Phoebe's reaction. The strong and hairy.
But yeah, I like that spell actually.
It was effective, at least.
So next thing is best baddie rankings.
Seems almost anticlimactic after all this time, doesn't it?
It was the only way to get their powers.
And now I want yours.
Darkest forces, let it be. Hear my plea, bring life to me.
You can't run! You're frozen! In fear!
Best baddie.
I gotta figure out where I'm gonna put the bestiary demon in my lineup of the current groups. I think I'm gonna put him as number 3, right above Gil Townsend from Picture Perfect. Because while I think he's very strong and very powerful, I don't think we get to see it as much. I don't know. I think it was a missed opportunity. So if they showed us more, I think he could have gotten higher. But right now I have Ravaging Man Beast as number 1. And I still have Shax as number 2. So I'll put Bestiary Demon as number 3.
Okay.
Cool. Now I do have a short grimoire game.
What is this, some kind of game?
Grimoire Games.
Some people think this is entertainment.
It's just one question, and there's multiple answers. Can you name a time that we see a tiger horse, or elephant in the series?
Again, it's in the show itself.
Yes, in the show.
Let's see. You said a tiger, a horse,
Or elephant. So pretty much
elephant.
based off the Zeus, Sabra, and Tasha, because they have a tiger, horse, and elephant. So I'm like, oh, when in the series do we see a tiger, horse, or elephant?
Let's see. If I were to remember, like the actual animals, not something that was conjured up or shape-shifted into. I remember there was in season 1 when Prue and this warlock Brendan, they were horse riding.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Definitely. That was a good one. And for the moment, I cannot seem to remember a tiger, but I remember Hannah shape-shifting into a panther. It was a different thing, but yeah, still a panther.
Wicked Envy.
Pretty.
So many things came to my mind. You got the horse with Brendan, yes, the little horse riding scene. They did have a tiger and an elephant, both in Animal Pragmatism, when they turned the P3 into...
Oh, right. Oh, my God. I forgot.
So they're both in there. Then there was a tiger in Witches in Tights when Kevin conjured the tiger drawing.
The one that Kevin manifested through his drawings.
Yes, yep. There's that one. And then there's like the Legend of Sleepy Halliwell horse. There's the Bear Witch Project horse.
Wait, which one?
The Legend of Sleepy Halliwell horse, the Headless Horseman.
Headless Horseman.
Mm-hmm. And then the one that Phoebe wrote in the Bear Witch Project, that's one as well. Yeah.
And then there was also the horse that appeared with Lady Godiva. Let's not forget that one.
Right.
Because they're
two different horses. Right. So cool. So those are really good. We just had a fun time reminiscing about animals. So the final thing then is tips for future white letters.
I was out being a force of good in the universe.
So what is the moral of this story?
Say this is all about being tricked. So get smarter. Try not to like just focus on the obvious and see something. See the mystery behind this whole thing. Because like there's all about like Fox sends them on a mission and they have to figure everything out on themselves. So it's kind of about that. They have to figure out the mystery. Like they say, they were doing investigating work, and Phoebe was pretending to be a journalist, and they go through the whole Sherlock experience.
Yeah.
Try to see through the disguises and the lies and what is hiding behind it, and just find out the mystery. So yeah, try to get smart about that.
Yeah, you and I kind of had the same tip. If you suspect malice or mischief, be sensitive to cues and clues and trust your intuition. But yeah, so that's the tip. That's what we got from this book. Where can people find you and follow you on the social medias?
Well, I'm on Facebook called J Wong, but there are many J Wongs, so you gotta spell a little bit more specifically. Say J Wong and Stockholm. And I also have Instagram. Mine is called Xerox 1987 and 3 zeros. You gotta write 3 zeros at the end.
Okay.
There's also my YouTube channel. You just write Xerox Kingdom.
Okay. Yes. Awesome. Well, you can follow this podcast at Words of the Witches, primarily on Instagram, but you can follow it on Facebook and YouTube as well, or Words of Witches on Twitter. Email wordsofwitchespod@gmail.com if you have questions or concerns or comments. You can follow my other podcast, Hanging with the Halliwells and Solving for X. Those are still going on. And my personal one, KGZ87, if you feel like going there. So we'll see you for next episode later. Thanks for joining me today, Jay. That was great.
Thank you, Kevin, for having me.
Yes. So I guess we'll leave you for now. Spellworders, your destiny still awaits.
Bye.